wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And this is Chasing Labels number 30. Number 30, right?
It is indeed.
Oh, man.
We are now 30 years old.
No, God, we don't
Our
go in
20s are now behind
is our show in dog years or something? Jesus Christ. Fucking 30 years of doing this yet. I hope not. It would be more like, hello, welcome to Chasing Labels. Yeah. So
who knows if 30 years from now we'll still have Blu-rays and 4Ks to talk about.
I hope so.
I mean, I hope so too, for our sake.
Yeah.
And for the sake of our listeners.
Yeah.
And everybody else who likes movies and such.
But
yeah. This is now episode number 30 for Chasing Labels. Now, this is going to be a bit of a lean episode, not much in the way of announcements for this past week. So we're probably going to take it nice and slow, nice and easy.
Well, let's not take it too slow. I don't want to bore our listeners.
No, we won't be boring.
That's why I started out singing.
Yeah, I know. we will be filling our usual time slot, I guess, as if we're like on a radio show and we have like time slots.
Yeah,
to fill,
we have to do so much, or our money guys will take our pay away. I
know. You gotta sell it.
You have to at least put in an hour and a half.
Like that's the beauty of podcasting, is that you can go for as little or as long as you want, and unless, of course, you work for a company, you can do, how much content you want.
Or you just have a certain standard you like to go at. And I mean, I think we both can agree we would like to stay within a certain parameter, but sometimes it doesn't go that way, and that's okay, because typically when we go longer, that means we just had a really thoughtful, awesome episode, maybe,
Yeah, action-packed.
And usually it's with a guest, and,
yes.
So that means it was just an awesome episode. So
yeah, this week we are flying solo. Last week we had Andrew Furtado on from Severin Films for the third time.
Yeah.
So if you haven't listened to that episode yet,
please
go back and listen to that. He's always fun to have on.
Yeah, and speaking of guests, I ain't gonna announce anything yet, but I will tease that we got a lot of good things coming. We did have a guest for next week, but we unfortunately had something come up, so we rescheduled him. But I don't think we're going to have any more guests for this year. I think we will try to do an episode next weekend, and then I think the weekend after that, which will be the Christmas weekend, we'll probably take off for the holiday, and then the weekend after that, we will have our first week of the year, first episode of the new year, and our first guest. So, but we got a lot of
exciting things.
Yeah, a lot of good coming
up.
A lot of good guests coming in. Couple more I got to confirm before I make any announcements, but I will be posting hopefully something soon where you guys can see maybe a little bit of a schedule, what you're going to see in the first couple months of Chasing Labels 2022.
Yes, Steven has been very, very busy.
Yes.
When it comes to talking to people and getting all these guests. That's all him.
Yeah,
that is all him doing.
Yeah, he I told him about a guest I was about to get last night, and he got flabbergasted. He was like. He almost fell down because I told him who.
I did. I was flummoxed.
That was the word he used. I didn't even know what the word was. I was like, what?
I couldn't even spell a correct sentence in messaging Steven back.
Yeah.
That's how flummoxed I was. So exciting times on the horizon.
Sounds like you just casted a spell on me or something. Flummoxed.
Flummoxed.
Something from Harry Potter,
I put a spell on you.
I heard that reference. Yeah, I got it.
Nice. But I guess we'll move into what we have to talk about this week, and then we'll kind of branch off from there. Like we said, not much going on in terms of a lot of mainstream, but a lot of the stuff we talk about, because we had so much to talk about in these past couple of weeks. And I think
usually
companies are starting to slow down.
Well, usually in the holiday season too, it does slow down, I think, a tad, for people to, go home and actually celebrate holiday, and, it's fine. That's fine with me. I'm glad to take a little bit of a break. I had to think so hard before this episode.
I know.
Yeah.
So getting into it, we're going to talk a little Kino Lorber Studio Classics, as well as Kino Lorber in general. And picking up where we left off from a couple of weeks ago, they are putting out a movie called The Antichrist, or The Antichrist. And this is the movie came out in 1974, right in the aftermath of the popularity of The Exorcist. Yeah. So you can assume what type of movie this is. This is a movie that you take elements from The Exorcist, you take elements from Rosemary's Baby, elements from, any type of satanic cult type movie with dealing with witchcraft and all kind of stuff like that. You dial it up to 11 and get super crazy with it, and you have The Antichrist,
Wow.
starring, I think it's Carla Gravina, Mel Ferrer, Arthur Kennedy, Alida Valli, and I watched this movie last night, Stephen, and it's a crazy movie. It is a wild film.
What's so crazy about
And
it? It can't be that crazy.
there's all kinds of stuff going on in it. There's possession, there's demonic ritual going on, there's sexual stuff going on. It's wild. It's just a wild film where they took all those elements like I talked about and just dialed it up to 11. And it is an Italian film, but the movie was in English, so it was like dubbed in English, or even like with English actors
it's
speaking
also
in English. I thought I was gonna have to read subtitles the whole time. Turns out I didn't have to.
It says it's also called The Tempter.
Yes, it is called that as well.
This is a new,
which is a lot more appropriate because
there's a lot of tempting in it.
More like that, yeah, like demonic temptation and all that kind of stuff. It is having a new, brand new 4K restoration by Studio Canal. So I assume Studio Canal must have released this at some point. It's getting new audio commentary by film historian Lee Gambin and film critic Sally Christie, as well as a bunch of other special features. So it is getting a bit of a deluxe edition.
Yeah, it looks like Ennio Morricone did the music also.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. I noticed his name in the credits. And it's coming with a slipcover for those of you fascinated by Kino Lorber slipcovers, which seem to be on the rage, or they seem to be popular. I don't know if it's just because it's the slipcover game or whatever.
Slipcovers have always been popular.
I know for the 4Ks, people really, really want to get those.
Yeah.
And when they miss out on it, those prices for those like jack up on eBay.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, we're going back to the TV movie release kick that Kino Lorber's been on this year. But this is one that I was actually super excited about. I'm glad they finally released it. They've been releasing a bunch of Jack Lemmon films in general recently, and this is 12 Angry Men from 1997. It's an adaptation directed by William Friedkin, and I believe this was on HBO, I think.
Yeah, sounds right.
Back in 97. And it's coming in 2 aspect ratios. It's coming in the original 1:33:1 TV ratio and the 1:70:1 theatrical one, so you can watch it either way you prefer. I'll say this is a star-studded cast in this film. You've got, like I said, Jack Lemmon's in the film, Courtney B. Vance is in the film, Ossie Davis, who was in the Spike Lee film that I'm blanking on right now, I can't believe, Do the Right Thing. He's the mayor in that film. You've got the late James Gandolfini. Tony Danza's in the film.
God.
Hume Cronin, who was in a couple of Hitchcock films, including Lifeboat and Shadow of a Doubt, which we talked about on our previous iteration, Cinema Discovery Project. Mary McDonnell is in the film for a little bit. She plays the judge in it, and she's probably more prominently known for her TV work. She was in Battlestar Galactica. That's where I know her from. So was Edward James Olmos. Was also in Battlestar Galactica as well. So it's like, this is a star-studded cast in this from back in the day. And it's a really great film. I mean, if you know the original film
version.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not nearly as good as the original, though, right?
No, the original film for me is probably one of the most, perfect films of all time. But this is equally as good. It's hitting all the same beats, and some of the actors take some chances that some of the original actors didn't.
Who's playing Lee J. Cobb's character?
Oh, they got another screamer.
I was going to say, is the guy screaming just like Lee J. Cobb?
Oh, yes, they did. Guess who it is? It's George C. Scott.
Course.
One of the great screamers and just gravelly voiced actors of all time in this film. And of course, he's yelling and doing his thing. It's really good. I'm glad this is finally getting a release, because I know for years, I think it's only had a DVD release. So this may be, it's first time. Oh, it says first time on DVD and Blu-ray.
Wow. Well, this is a big
one.
So
maybe it never had a DVD release for all I know. It's really tough to get like TV movies and kind of I wouldn't say TV series, but TV movies, TV miniseries getting Blu-ray releases is kind of unheard of, for the most part.
Oh, it's
I
not
would
as hard.
say.
I don't think it's as rare now, but maybe some ones back in the day, maybe.
I would say older ones,
Yeah,
like stuff from the 90s, 80s, and even going back to the 70s. We've seen Kino Lorber put out some of those stuff this year. So I'm really glad about that. But moving on to kind of the other spectrum of it, at least for me personally, is a film called God's Gun from 1976. It's getting a brand new 2K master, new audio commentary by filmmaker Alex Cox. Once again, showing up in your special features package somewhere. He's not making movies, but he's certainly talking about
Does he work for Kino Lorber? Jeez.
I don't know. So God's Gun is a spaghetti western done in the mid-70s, kind of past the prime of spaghetti westerns. And it stars Lee Van Cleef and Jack Palance. And on paper, that sounds good.
Yeah.
On paper, that sounds like something you would want. It is directed by the same guy who did Sabata, which we talked about
the Sabata
in
trilogy.
some episode previously. He did like all of them, I think.
That was was it Severin or who put it out?
Was it Eureka?
You know what? I think it is Eureka, maybe.
Yes,
yeah, that sounds right.
Maybe
That sounds right.
Yeah, it was
Somebody
Sabata,
will correct
Audio,
us.
Sabata, and Return
Somebody
of
will
Sabata.
correct us.
I mean, I could look this
Definitely
up.
not Severin. I don't know why I even said that.
No, it's not. I'll say this. The movie's clearly done past the point where spaghetti westerns were relevant or popular because it feels so standard and reaching and actually kind of dull, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Specifically when Lee Van Cleef is not on screen, movie's kind of dull, kind of cliche. Jack Palance is chewing up the scenery, so it's a lot of fun in that regard. But there's just a lot of issues that I don't quite like with the film, and the film felt a little too long.
Okay.
Like the film was a little lengthy, and it was. I don't know.
You like the Lord of the Rings.
94 minutes.
You like the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, like 94 minutes, and it felt like it was dragging. I'll say this: the last act of the movie is fun. Just getting there is kind of a chore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So moving on from God's Gun, and Sabata did get put out by Sabata trilogy, I should say, did get put out by Eureka Entertainment back in October. So we were right.
No, yeah,
so
I wasn't right, there, but I mean,
one of us was.
You were right.
One of us.
Not me.
So moving on here, there is a 2-pack here of films that have been previously released in FX and FX2. So they basically packaged both of those movies and put them together.
And it gets a slipcover. Ooh. Yeah, I already have both of these in the single edition. So, but I haven't watched FX2 yet. But FX1 is great. I really enjoy it. It's about a special effects artist guy who gets kind of caught up in a whole crime thing, conspiracy kind of thing. It's really fun. I really like it.
Yeah, what I've noticed here is that Kino did release FX and FX2 back in 2015, and this is essentially, I believe, just a repackage of both of them into one release. And I'm assuming it's just going to be each disc in a much more affordable packaging, and that seems to be the case. Yeah. And this is coming out February 1st. So this is part of their February slate. So moving along from FX and FX2, we've got... should I bring this up, or am I going to piss Steven off by bringing it up?
I swear to God, you bring up the goddamn Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Damn it, I said it.
Yeah, he said it. So Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which just got a 4K UHD release, within the last month or two?
Something like that.
Finally. They promoted the hell out of it all year long. So about damn time they put it up. Well, they decided that they're going to put out just a regular Blu-ray version of the movie with the newly restored HD master from a 4K scan from the original camera negative. So if you don't have a 4K player and 4K TV, or if you're not interested in it at all, you can still get Invasion of the Body Snatchers with a brand new transfer, and it probably looks a hell of a lot better than the old Blu-rays.
Just please buy it so that they can get it out of stock.
They can stop talking about it.
So they can get it out of stock, so he can stop talking about it. He gets brought up so much. I'm so sick of it.
And I know.
I'm just kidding.
We'll move on from there. Coming soon on Blu-ray from a brand new 4K master is Stunt Rock from 1978. And I just love the tagline, Death Wish at 120 decibels. You don't need more than that. You don't need to say more than that.
This poster's making my heart rate go up.
I know.
Adrenaline.
It's got fast cars and electric guitars and skulls. What more than you need?
That shot with the guy jumping between cars makes me think of a Fast and the Furious film.
Oh, yeah. Of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does, because they're like flying cars in outer space now in those movies.
It's amazing. Are you ready for the 10th movie?
Oh, yes. Maybe.
I don't think any of us are really ready for another Fast and
Furious
movie.
I'm not ready for it until it comes out. But speaking of what's coming out sometime soon is a movie called Tarantulas, The Deadly Cargo, starring Claude Atkins, Tom Atkins, Pat Hingle, who was in Tim Burton's Batman. I think he was Commissioner Gordon. I think that was Pat Hingle. But this is obviously a horror film dealing with spiders from 1977. And the cover of this is just a giant tarantula.
It says art not final, so...
Oh, does it say art not final?
Yes, it does.
That would make sense, because it just says Tarantulas, the Deadly Cargo.
This just
Terror
looks like
has
some
8
kind
legs.
of promotional flyer or something that somebody made up. They got this picture off of, like... Google and just put like
Google Images and just put like letters over it. That's possibly what it is.
That's what it looks like.
I don't know what it is with spiders. People just really tapped into that fear and exploited it to make movies about it. Like we've gotten so many movies with spiders or spider-like creatures,
arachnophobia.
Yeah,
there's tons of them.
People are still afraid of them. But moving on from there, I have to bring this up, even though Steven doesn't want me to, because we already talked about it.
I don't care.
We talked about it, I think, in the Justin Beam episode, where finally we can confirm this. Coming February 15th on 4K UHD and Blu-ray is the great Orson Welles' film Touch of Evil. So get your pre-orders in whenever you can, because I have a feeling this is going to be a hot seller. Yeah. Especially amongst cinephiles and collectors. If you already have the Blu-ray from Universal from, 2014 or earlier, whenever the heck that came out, this is definitely going to be an upgrade from that. And this is a pretty deluxe edition. It's 3 discs. All 3 discs are 4K UHD discs, I believe. You're getting the 3 cuts of the movie that exist currently, the theatrical cut, the reconstructed cut, and the preview cut of the film, plus so many extra bonus features and new commentaries, all kinds of stuff. So this is going to be a monumental release for a lot of cinephiles, including myself. So you compare this up with the Citizen Kane release, which just came out from Criterion, and you have all the Orson Welles that you can possibly handle.
You can always handle more, right?
Yeah, of course. I still need the trial on Blu-ray. Here in the States.
I mean, it's
someone
out
make
there,
it happen.
man. Just go for it. That studio, that little book,
Studio Canal one from like a decade ago.
It's a good release, but the package is not good.
No, I don't think it is. Speaking of packaging, here we have the final option, which looks like a 1980s action film, and from 1982, also known as Who Dares Wins, which I don't think is proper English. I don't think that's a proper way to say that.
They didn't have an editor there during this one.
Yeah. Well, this is getting an audio commentary, looks like a 2004 documentary called Last of the Gentlemen Producers, The Life and Works of Ewan Lloyd, a 2004 documentary featuring actors Roger Moore, Ingrid Pitt, Kenneth Griffin, filmmaker John Glenn, Rosalind Lloyd, who is Ewan Lloyd's daughter, and others. That's 37 minutes long, so it looks like this is going to be something interesting for people who are interested in this film. I know nothing about this movie. No. So all I can say is that the cover looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's somebody like... Are they climbing? Are they coming out of a helicopter, and then there's like a gas mask person in the back?
Yeah,
there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on.
Escape from L.A. or Escape from New York vibes, maybe, or something. I don't know. Kind of.
Yeah.
I guess you don't agree with me.
I don't even... No, I'm just trying to see who's actually in this movie. Judy Davis. Can't really see who else is
I think
in
it's a
it.
British
Yeah,
film,
Lewis.
so I don't really
Oh
know
yeah,
many of the actors.
neither do I.
It's a small budget British
Oh,
film.
it says directed by Ian Sharp and co-starring Richard Widmark. Wow, that's got to be late work for Richard Widmark. 1982.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So moving on from there, we've got a movie called Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. Now this is an old school cover here, with this poster artwork here, where someone's dangling from one of the crown spikes
Yeah.
on the Statue of Liberty, as if that was humanly possible. And it's got that superimposed like aerial look to it. It just feels like an old school poster.
Well, this
I'm really digging
I'm
that.
interested in this one because it's kind of got a cool premise. It's about a cop that's deemed dead, but then he's actually, I guess he fakes his death and he gets trained to become an assassin for the Secret Service. Or I guess in the service of the president. So, I like movies like this, where it's kind of like The Punisher, but if The Punisher worked for the president, something like that maybe.
Kind of reminds me of those Gerard Butler films that he's doing nowadays.
Oh,
Olympus Has
Fallen. Everything, the Fallen movies. I guess you could call them.
I forgot what the second one's called.
Olympus Has Fallen.
London Has
Fallen.
And then Angel Has Fallen. That's the Gerard Butler
I think the last movie should be called They All Fall Down. This is directed by Guy Hamilton, who's done a lot of James Bond films. So this is probably kind of in his wheelhouse. Something about an assassin or a spy, or So yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in checking this one out. So. And Fred Ward's a name I've seen him in a lot of stuff.
Well, Fred Ward is in Tremors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen him in Tremors. But yeah, Guy Hamilton directed Goldfinger, Live and Let Die, Diamonds Are Forever, The Man with the Golden Gun. I mean, this is right in his wheelhouse. But moving on from there, we've got. What is a Kino Lorber Studio Classic slate this year without either a 4K UHD release of a movie from another company or a Charles Bronson film? And we've got a Charles Bronson film here in Murphy's Law, which is a film that I did indeed watch because my job here on Chasing Labels is to watch all of the Charles Bronson films that get announced.
Andrew he basically gets up. He probably eats something. He might use the bathroom. I think he does a little exercising, and then he just watches movies. He is a machine, people, and he does it for you. So no complaining
true.
out there.
Well,
I
mostly
will
do it
find
for
you.
myself, but yeah.
But yeah, Andrew is a watching machine, and he watched Murphy's Law. And do you feel the law?
I was feeling it. I'll say this: I did like it. Charles Bronson. This is an older Charles Bronson, 1986. This isn't his super hunky, hanging out in the desert self from the early 70s, which we've seen a lot of recently. But this is a film where he's a cop that's got framed for murdering his ex-wife, and there's a reason why he's been framed for it, so he's got to uncover it while he's on the run from the law. He gets teamed up with a criminal, kind of a crook, if you will, a thief who he busted early on in the movie. So they have a back and forth foil type relationship. One's a good cop, or kind of a good cop, and the other one's a criminal and whatnot. So they're on the run together, and I dug it.
Okay.
I thought it was a lot of fun. This has an audio commentary by actress Kathleen Wilhoit and film historian Nick Redmond, who of course passed away a few years ago when he was part of Twilight Time.
Yeah,
that was his company and whatnot. And a lot of his stuff, a lot of the licenses and special features that featured him on a lot of those Twilight Time releases are transferring over to whoever gets the rights to those films. And I think Murphy's Law may have been released by Twilight Time at one point, because I know they released a couple of Charles Bronson films. Yes, they did. They did release Murphy's Law. I think they released 10 to Midnight as well. and even like some of the other films that we talked about earlier this year, I think had Twilight time releases at some point. So Kino's just kind of re-releasing those films, and I'm assuming it's the same exact transfers
Okay.
because
Yeah.
those releases were a couple of years ago, and yeah, what is interesting about this film is that I think, if I remember correctly, this is a Canon Films
Okay. That sounds about right.
production.
That time period.
And
yeah.
and Charles Bronson in the 80s was just doing like heaps of Canon films. He was just, I think all of the sequels to Death Wish were all Canon film productions. If you don't know what Canon Film Group was or is or anything like that, it was you no doubt have seen their logo and you've seen a Canon film at some point because they just put out so much 70s and 80s like schlock or whatever, and it was just a whole movement that went all the way up through the 90s. If for anyone out there, if you've seen Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, you've seen a Canon film because that was a Canon film. Probably one of the worst superhero films you will ever see, ever. But I believe this is a Canon film. But moving on from there, we have a movie called Ants.
No. It's Ants.
It's not the one you're thinking of.
It's Ants.
It's not Ants. It's not Ants with a Z.
Yeah.
It's Ants with an S.
Well, I'm saying, but you got to yell it. It's like Ants.
You gotta yell Ants.
Because it's got an exclamation
It happened
point, yeah.
at Lakewood Manor. Oh no.
Yeah.
This movie, I believe, is a 1977 horror film dealing with bugs.
And I can tell you, these ants, they're perverted because they're all over this naked woman on this poster.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yes, they couldn't let her get dressed. Jeez.
I'll tell you this. This movie stars probably names you've heard of before. Suzanne Summers, who I think many people know for her time on Three's Company, as well as if you were a 90s kid, Step by Step, that TGIF Friday lineup.
Day by day. Yes, I know this.
That's a show. I mean, not going to go off on a rant here. That's a show that would be nice if they released it on DVD. I don't know if they ever released like a first season and they just didn't release any others, or they just didn't release it at all. A lot of those 90s sitcoms lack DVD releases, let alone Blu-ray releases.
Well,
like those, that's a pipe dream beyond pipe dreams.
So.
What's that?
Streaming's keeping them down too. They don't feel the need to do it when they got streaming. So
not only that, they'd have to go back and put in a lot of work to kind of remaster those, because I mean they've got 90s sitcom stuff streaming on various streaming networks and online, and they don't look very good. Like they just put them on there, just the old whatever type of masters they have. So they would have to go back and clean that stuff up.
The big name, the big name in Ants here is Brian Dennehy is a good one here.
Brian Dennehy once again, who was in FX.
Yes,
a movie we talked about earlier.
I love good Brian Dennehy movies.
Another name here that strikes me, Myrna Loy is in this movie.
Jesus, she's got to be old here.
I would believe so. 1977. Myrna Loy, of course. I mean, that's a name we talked about last week when we talked about the Thin Man films.
Yep.
Yeah, she was in all the Thin Man films with William Powell. She was in Mr. Blanding, Build a Dream House. She's in The Best Years of Our Lives. A classic, esteemed actress. And
now she's in Ants.
Unfortunately, later on in their careers, a lot of these actors and actresses were doing less than great movies.
Look. I mean, unfortunately, the roles start to dry up for a lot of the older people. But in this time, these were popular movies.
I mean, I have no idea what the
disaster
movies,
animal attack movies were a big thing.
I guess. I mean, we're not talking. It's not the Towering Inferno.
Well,
here.
sure. This is a TV movie. So yeah, but I mean, look, there's some good TV movies. Duel. I mean, Spielberg's Duel.
Spielberg.
Come on,
he's back in. He's back in the zeitgeist right now with a West Side Story,
which I hear is pretty good.
Recording.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a readaptation of a classic stage play. I love West Side Story. It's probably my favorite musical.
Probably.
My favorite
that
movie,
or Singing in the Rain.
musical. But you are right. He started off doing TV movies with Duel.
Yeah. So this could be cool. This could be cool.
This could be cool. I haven't seen it. It is getting a brand new 2K master. Yeah. It does say coming soon on Blu-ray, so we're not sure when that is. And the placeholder they have now here, I believe, is just the movie
Yeah.
poster with a scantily clad woman covered in ants, which I guess the same thing goes for the 70s as is now. Sex sells pretty much any product you want
Yes.
to put out there.
I mean, they
You know,
could have just
the way it is.
rode on the fact that they had bugs in the movie, and all the people that love bugs would come see the movie. But I guess
Yeah,
they
the
didn't think there was enough of them people. So
ants
yeah.
enthusiasts.
But the last
But
one, what's this? Because I
yes.
know you said you needed to rant about this last one.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. So as I was just saying, it's not quite a Kino Lorber Studio Classics release slate without a 4K UHD announcement of some kind. And this one is one of a movie that they just put a Blu-ray release out for this calendar year. And now they're going to re-release it in 4K next year. And that is the Clint Eastwood film High Plains Drifter. Now, I really like this movie. I didn't get their Blu-ray re-release, even though I planned on getting it. And in hindsight, I'm actually kind of happy I didn't. But I'm also kind of mad because all the people who did get it are probably pissed off that they did, because now they have the option to rebuy it again if they so choose to, with, in the 4K UHD format. And it frustrates me because, okay, it came out in October 27th of 2020, their version, so it wasn't quite this year. So it was a year ago.
Maybe you're going to have to calm yourself down a little bit now.
Oh, no, I'm not calming down. They're still re-releasing a movie that they've already put out on Blu-ray recently. And that just kind of rubs me the wrong way, because it's a little bit of price gouging. It's a little bit of kind of exploiting the collector, because they know that they'll be able to squeeze more money out of us because we want the new format, we want the higher quality or highest quality, anything like that.
I get it.
I get it. I get why they're doing it to make the money.
And this is I'm with you. But there's also another side to that, and I think that is it's called self-control.
Okay, Mr. Self-Control.
And I was going to say, I don't have it.
yeah, I was going to say.
But I am self-aware, and I know that we have to have self-control sometime as collectors, and, you don't have to buy this. If you already have a nice Blu-ray, Blu-rays are pretty damn good. They look pretty good.
And this one that came out, over a year ago, has a fantastic transfer.
Yeah.
Has a better transfer, I believe, than the original Blu-ray from many, many years ago through Universal, if memory serves.
And most
I should probably check up on that.
And I think most guys, a lot of people, and even me, I'm going to be doing this. If they really want that new thing, they just sell the old one, and usually you can get something back for it somewhere.
Okay. Okay, I don't want to cut you off. That looks like I may have. Good thing I looked it up. So it looks like the Blu-ray they released over a year ago has the same master utilized as they did for the old Universal release. So if anything, this release is going to look better than both of those. So here we go now. Okay, maybe I may have to walk back a little bit.
Let's
you can't see me
back.
slinking back. I'll say, but still, the principle is there that they're. Why didn't they just give us a new transfer a year ago?
I don't.
And now they're giving us a new transfer.
Maybe they didn't have it ready yet.
They don't release it, Steven. They don't release it.
Oh my God, you were so
And now,
you're just so.
I know they
wanted
it to coincide with their re-release of like The Beguiled, and
we could sit here and play the same game with what Arrow does, because like I got Deep Red, and they already put out Deep Red on 4K like a year or so later. Like
you know what's crazy? You know what I did last night? I actually compared and contrasted the original limited edition Blu-ray for Cat of Nine Tails and the new 4K to see what, if there were any different special features. There aren't, but the 4K edition only comes with the movie in 4K, whereas the limited edition that came out a few years ago was like a Blu-ray and DVD combo like edition.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the only main thing that I didn't think of when upgrading to the new 4K, limited editions from Arrow when it comes to Dario Argento stuff, is that I guess they only come with the movie in 4K and not like a Blu-ray counterpart, not like a Blu-ray combo or anything like that. So you are getting, I guess, a little bit less if you upgrade for the picture quality versus sticking with your old editions. But I don't know. I just found that interesting.
Yeah.
Also kind of goes in with what you were saying when it comes to, getting multiple movies. Of course, as collectors, we buy multiple editions of the same movie all of the time.
Yeah.
For example, again, last night I want to rewatch the Matrix films. I know we're going a little mainstream here, so excuse me. I want to rewatch the Matrix films, and I have the old Blu-ray trilogy set from like 2009, 2010, and I was bemoaning that I don't have the new 4K edition. So I was just like, I know there's probably multiple people who bought the Matrix films probably on 3 different formats, if not 4 different formats, at this
Sure.
point. Steven, I know you've upgraded to the
No.
4K in that regard.
Yes, I have.
Yes, you
I
have.
have a VHS, a DVD, a Blu-ray, and a 4K of the first one.
Yeah, I know.
Of the first one.
Of the Matrix. So I was just like, hey, I really need to get the 4K now. So they're gonna get me. They're gonna get me eventually. Mainstream boutique. They're gonna get you no matter what. I'll say this also. It really reminded me how all of the Blu-rays that came out from Warner Brothers mainstream line pre 2012 or so really needed re-releases badly, because the Blu-ray looks okay, but my goodness, it's an ancient release when it comes to the standard we have now of Blu-ray. Like it was such an old Blu-ray of The Matrix that the movie started up right away. There was no menu that started it up. The movie just started.
I've never been a fan of that. I want the main menu to come up so that I can.
Yeah, this didn't have a menu.
Yeah, I like
didn't
menus.
have a menu, and it was also so old that it didn't even start you with the better audio track. It started you with the Dolby Digital 5.1 track and not the true HD track that was on there. That's how old that Blu-ray is.
Yeah.
That must have been like a first generation Blu-ray that came out in the 2000s. So that was a movie that, of course, desperately needed a re-release for, just for the modern age, and because those movies are so visually gorgeous. You know what I mean? I'll say this though, warning to anyone out there. Steven told me this when he bought his, when he upgraded to 4K. There is an aesthetic big difference between the way the Matrix looked back then versus the way it looks now in the new 4K. I was astonished by the difference in terms of looking at screenshots. Completely different color tone, and color palette almost. And it was kind of shocking.
Yeah, it kind of upset me.
Steven, I know you've been moaned. I know we're going off now, but I'm just saying.
Kind of upset me a little bit.
You've been moaned how they basically took out all of the green tint, all of the green aesthetic, and went for a more realistic look, which kind of took away a little bit of the, I don't know, the computerized, tone of the movie, I would say. But that's just me going off on The Matrix. I have The Matrix on the mind now because the new movie's coming out really, really soon at this point. But moving back to where we are now, that is it for Kino Lorber Studio Classics. But for Kino Lorber's straight Kino Lorber Classics line, which they do kind of sneak out a few things here and there, is a double feature release of the Douglas Sirk Collection Volume 2. And these are 2 films from Douglas Sirk from the 1930s. The first being The Girl from the Marsh Croft and The Final Chord. And I bring that up because Douglas Sirk is a director I really, really like. I have a bunch of his stuff. And we don't get a lot of his 30s and early work on Blu-ray. We get a lot of his later, more lush melodramas from the 50s in Technicolor on Blu-ray because they look so damn good. Yeah. So this is kind of a cool thing. So there is a Volume 1 and Volume 2 of early Douglas Sirk stuff from when he was in Germany in the 30s. So if anybody is interested in that, that's going to be available February 22nd.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're down to our last bit of stuff to talk about. Really the only big main slate that got, and I think we're lucky that it even got announced, because usually Indicator would be this coming week. They kind of usually line up with the same week as Criterion, but I guess they decided to get ahead of them this week. So, but Indicator Powerhouse has now dropped their, what is it, March slate? February slate? March, yes. And we got 4 more titles. One of them we actually talked about a while back ago. It got leaked out, I think, in a magazine. And I guess we'll start there, where we have A Time for Dying, which is a Western written and directed by Bud Bedecker.
Yep.
And yeah, this is one you saw, right? You watched this back when we talked about it originally.
Yes. I think it was the episode where we had John Matthews on.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yes, because we were talking about Indicator and stuff at the time, and this one had just leaked out at that specific time, and I mentioned that I believe this is officially the last feature film for Bud Bedecker.
Yes.
And of course, there's a Bud Bedecker box set from Indicator, and it is now out of print, so you gotta have to track that down on the third-party market, and it is quite expensive. But they have re-released those movies individually, I believe, since, so you can still get them.
Yeah.
You can still get them. But yeah, this is a kind of a dark and I would say sardonic, I don't know if that's quite the word, but a rather pessimistic Western. 1969, towards that tail end of probably when Westerns were prominent in terms of popularity. And yeah, it's a really kind of good film. I really like it. I really like it a lot. You are getting a bit of special features. You're getting new 2K scan from the original camera negative. You're getting an audio commentary. You're getting appreciation by filmmaker and author Christopher Pettit, who I think we've heard of a few times. Just like Jesse James, Kim Newman, author of Wild West Movies, discusses the many film portrayals of the famed outlaw, because there is a moment in this film where the outlaw Jesse James does show up and give like the protagonist some advice or something like that. So they do cross paths, so it's kind of interesting. And yeah, this is a world premiere on Blu-ray, but it's a limited edition of 2,000 copies for the UK, 4,000 copies for the world. Very interesting wording there, Stephen.
Well, I think they've cleared that up. I think obviously, I think they're just, I think they try to keep 2,000 for UK
for the UK
market, and then the other 2,000 for the rest of the world. So that's,
so that kind of cleared up all the questions some of the questions we had in terms of supply.
Yeah.
When it came to their expansion over to here in the US, which as of January they're kicking that off.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you've noticed, all of these releases are region free. Yep. So that would indicate that as well.
Oh yeah.
So moving on from there, do you want to go into just like
I'll run it down.
Yeah, go to the other ones.
Let's talk about La Lorna, directed by Roman Pion. I don't know how you would say that, but this is a Mexican film from 1933, and this is also a world premiere on Blu-ray. And we both have seen this. We both watched this in a not very good picture quality.
No. You can stream this on YouTube as of right now. There are two different versions on there. By versions, I mean videos.
Yeah.
One, the subtitles are kind of wonky and they don't really work. But then there in the comments, somebody put a link to another video which has the subtitles, correctly aligned and in sync and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Either video looks pretty terrible in terms of picture quality.
The restoration on this had to be pretty immense.
Monumental immense. And then when we scroll down here and it says new restoration from the only surviving film element, that kind of answers that question that this movie probably didn't get multiple prints or masters. And this is actually a rarity because you don't hear about a lot of Mexican films from the 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a pretty big deal. I think
it's a surprise.
We knew we'd heard Indicator was going to start delving more into other international cinema. They've had a few already, but the co-operators and owners have talked about when I've listened to them on Indicator Cast, they talked about how they were going to start getting into some more international cinema. So here we go, right? And this is in a place I didn't expect. Early Mexican cinema, and this film is kind of it's a horror film. It's not as, I would say, horrific as maybe you would expect, but like it's kind of like almost a folklore tale about the wailing woman. I liked it. I think the thing is I think with a better quality, I'll enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But it is a kind of a really like, it almost feels like a Shakespearean type of play style kind of horror movie, where there's a little bit more drama. It's a little stagey, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
it's still got
It's
atmosphere. It's
Yeah, it's very expressionistic.
Yeah.
As I'm just reading the description here. It's very atmospheric, and the fable or the legend or the folklore story of La Llorona has been readapted
They just
or
recently did it.
focused on so many
They
times.
just recently did it with the Blumhouse movie.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
Yeah. Okay, so
And it's kind of the same premise every time of this vengeful or restful ghost of a woman who either was wronged, or she was killed or committed suicide, or
yeah,
or her child
she kills her.
died,
She
or
kills her.
killed her
She
child,
kills her kid
or
actually. And
there's a bunch of various takes on that story. And it's nice to get it kind of directly from the cultural roots of La Llorona. And apparently it was a landmark production in Mexican cinema at the time. Apparently Mexican cinema back in the 30s was a bit of a golden age, I think, for that film industry, because from there we're going to be talking about another film that is also kind of well known at the time. But yeah, this is getting a good extras package. It is a region-free title, like we said. We're getting an exclusive booklet, like all the other releases get as well. So I'm very curious in this, just to see how much restoration that this film went through.
yeah, I already pre-ordered it.
Someone's going to see it before I do.
will.
Clearly.
I'll let you know.
Thank you very much.
But moving on to the next one.
To the other one.
Yeah, the other early Mexican film we got here is a film called The Phantom of the Monastery. And I think this actually has a few different titles,
Yes.
I think it's also been called The Phantom of the, what was it? They don't use monastery. It's something else. But it's got a few varying titles, and of course it's also got a Spanish title. But this came out in 1934, and I really like this movie. I like this more than La Llorona. But it's about these travelers who kind of come across this odd monk character who takes them to this castle, this church, and they kind of spend the night there. And when they spend the night there, they just encounter a lot of weird shit. A lot of ritualistic stuff going on. Ghosts and phantoms, as the title alludes to. But I thought this film had a really good direction. Some really good suspense build up in a lot of scenes, where there's this door that he doesn't know what's behind the door, and it's got like a cross in front of it. It's like some really, really suspenseful scenes, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, the alternate title is The Phantom of the Convent?
The Convent, yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then the Spanish title is El Fantasma del Convento.
Yeah.
So, The Phantom of the Convent. Yeah. And this is directed by Fernando de Fuentes, who I think was a prominent filmmaker of his time. Because I remember reading about this and kind of how big of a landmark this film is, and how this film is actually even more well-known than La Llorona.
Yeah.
Yet again, very expressionistic, kind of gothic, atmospheric type films, which were the way a lot of the horror films were at the time. If you think about those early 1930s Universal Monsters films, they were kind of like that as well.
Yeah.
If you look at Dracula, if you look at Frankenstein, a lot of it was atmospheric, very, very eerie, very, very creepy. And this is getting a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative by the UCLA Film and Television Archive in collaboration with the Foundation's World Cinema Project. Obviously, this film was much more protected and catered to than the previous film. The previous film, which doesn't have much in terms of, elements left to it. This one looks like it was archived and preserved for a long time in various places. So this is probably going to look fantastic. I don't know what the quality of the version that you saw, Steven.
It was pretty good quality. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was actually this restoration of, because I remember seeing these titles
Oh, the UCLA
Yeah.
Film and Television Archive. Yeah, they're huge. Uh, People have gone and gotten elements from them for Blu-ray and DVD releases now for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty big archive at UCLA. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in this because I didn't actually get to see it in time for the show.
I think you'll like it.
For the recording.
I think you'll like it. It's
and I think I'm really going to like it. And we're only getting there's a video appreciation by Abraham Castillo Flores, head program from Mexico's Morbido Festival. And this is a special feature from 2022. So maybe they're still in the process of making that special feature.
It says also
I'm not
all
sure.
extra subject to changes. There might be some more
Yes.
features that have not gotten added to
Ooh.
this yet.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I did not notice that until you just said it.
Well, you should read all the way down, Andrew.
What a shot. What
I'm just
a
messing
shot.
with you. You're just
But-
usually on top of stuff like that. And
That is very true.
I'm just like, I got you. It's my chance to get you.
But what I did see was a movie called Mad Dog Morgan, starring the late Dennis Hopper as this real-life titular character who was an outlaw from Australia in the 19th century, late 19th century. Well, yeah, mid to late 19th century.
He was like Irish though, wasn't he?
Yes,
Yeah, he was
living in Australia.
Yeah.
He was living in Australia. And it's based on the true story of Dan Morgan, the infamous Australian outlaw once described as the most bloodthirsty ruffian that ever took to the bush. Oh, what a title. But it does star Dennis Hopper. This movie came out in 1976. So this is, right before Dennis Hopper was in
Say it.
the Coppola movie that I can't remember
Say
right
it.
now, Apocalypse Now. This is right around the time he was in This American Friend. This American Friend. The Vim Vendors film. So this is around that era of Dennis Hopper.
So he was doing,
if you know anything about Dennis Hopper,
he was doing a lot of drugs then.
He was doing a lot of drugs at the time.
Yeah.
and it was kind of appropriate for this character. Yeah, it was called The American Friend, 1977.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, you just have to buy that movie from Criterion just to watch the special feature of Vim Vendors talking about his interacting with Dennis Hopper, how Dennis Hopper came off of the plane from Apocalypse Now and was so out of it when it came to drugs and stuff from what he was shooting with Coppola that Vim Vendors had to put him in rehab basically just to get him to be able to read the script. It's just unbelievable. But this is a film that is kind of an Australian Western.
Yeah.
And basically it's just his character kind of running from the law the whole time and creating all kinds of havoc from all different type of government officials and authority and stuff like that. The movie really doesn't have a solid plot. You're just going from one
It's
crazy situation to the next.
It's an Australian Easy Rider.
Yeah, for the most part.
It's
in terms of not having a plot.
Yeah, it's a very loose movie, and it's I think that fits what Dennis Hopper was about back in that time period when him as a filmmaker himself, I enjoyed this. I rather enjoyed this. I don't think it's the greatest movie ever, but I liked getting a little bit of a history. I mean, I know this is a movie, but this kind of I'd never really heard of this historical figure. So it gives me I like when I can visit and start doing research on my own and looking into some people, but I do love Australian cinema. We've talked about that before when we talked about with John Matthews also. And this is another Australian film that I'm getting introduced. And of course it's getting a nice deluxe packaging, the thicker deluxe sets
yes,
that
it
they
is.
do. So
they're limited edition sets.
Yeah. So, and it looks nice. This is the front cover, isn't that like a piece of art that we've seen? Isn't it like a painting or something somebody did?
It looks like a painting or maybe a sketch.
Isn't there like a famous painting of him somewhere that looks like this?
I don't know.
Like a sketch or a painting?
But it looks like that. It looks like, that's exactly what it looks like of the real person.
Yeah.
It's not a picture of Dennis Hopper as Mad Dog Morgan. It looks like an actual picture of him.
Yeah.
And this is from 1976. So it's right in that, that era of Australian films that we've talked about so much over the last, since we started the podcast, that Ozploitation era of kind of like that golden revival era.
Road
Games
wave was another one that
new wave of Australian films, like we talked, like you just said, Road Games, but of course, Mad Max and all that kind of stuff. I know it's easy to go back to Mad Max. That's the first thing that pops into my head every time I think of that era of Australian film. But there were, of course, so many more films of that era that came out during that time. But like Steven said, this is getting a really deluxe release here. I get new restoration from a 4K scan of the Interpositive by Powerhouse Films. So they're doing the restoration themselves, not getting it from somewhere else, which is kind of interesting. You get 2 presentations of the film, Mad Dog Morgan, the 103-minute director's cut, and Mad Dog, the 95-minute UK theatrical version. I can't remember which version I watched. I want to say it's the theatrical cut.
I think I watched the theatrical cut, yeah.
I don't remember the movie being 103 minutes long. Yeah. So you do get a audio commentary by writer-director Philippe Mora, who is still working today. Yeah. Actually, I just went to his IMDb. He's still working. You get, it looks like a bunch of featurettes about the making of the movie, as well as the director reflecting on the movie itself. There's a retrospective of Dennis Hopper's career that was done in 2009. Hey, Not Quite Hollywood. Here we go again. Not Quite Hollywood. Interview excerpts from the 2008 documentary. Over an hour of outtakes from Mark Hartley's acclaimed documentary on Australian cinema featuring Mora, producer Jeremy Thomas, camera operator John Seal, and actors Jack Thompson, Roger Ward, and Graham Blundell. So once again, they're taking excerpts from that movie and putting it into a special features package somewhere. Yeah. Also, special shout out to one of the actors in the film who just recently passed away, David Gulpilil.
Gulpilil.
Oh,
Gulpilil.
Yeah, Gulpilil. Anywho, he was an Aboriginal actor from Australia. He was, of course, probably most prominently known for being in the movie Walkabout, the Nicholas Roeg film, which came out, I think, 5 years before this film. But he was in a lot of Australian-based films. Yeah. He was in
Crocodile Dundee.
Going from Walkabout to Crocodile Dundee. Yeah. He was in the movie Australia. Yeah. Isn't that
Nicole Kidman, Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman film directed by Baz Luhrmann. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Australian, I think Baz Luhrmann's Australian.
Yes, I
could get that wrong.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, he was, a prominent actor who appeared in many, many films. Of course, kind of being typecasted as an Aboriginal person in those films. It's kind of like, same way here in U.S. cinema. If you've seen films that feature Indigenous peoples, chances are it's the same actors over and over again. Yeah. They get typecasted as just being part of their culture,
a Native American
basically.
Character, or a Hispanic character, a gangbanger,
You do see that in all the cultures. Yeah, they just, pluck them out and they just get typecasted in a specific role. But yes, I just wanted to point him out because he did recently pass away as of November 29th, which was a couple weeks ago. Less than 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So that is that it for Indicator?
That's it. Yeah, we talked about them all. I'm not lying.
That's everything. That's about everything when it comes to all the major stuff that's been announced this week. Of course, there are a couple of other things that we didn't get a chance to delve into, kind of one-offs here and there. But yeah, that's about it, Stephen.
Well, I mean, I guess so that we can lengthen this just a tad. Anything coming in the mail? You got anything on the way?
I do have something coming in the mail, actually. Disciples of Shaolin, which is a Shaw Brothers film that just got a U.S. release by 88 Films, because something we didn't mention, maybe we did mention it and I just can't remember, 88 Films is starting to release a lot of their stuff that they released in the UK here in the States, specifically their Shaw Brothers stuff. So for those of you who may have missed out on that or weren't, you know, didn't know where to start when it came to the Shaw Brothers stuff from 88 Films, jump on this now because they've just started releasing it in the last month. I just got the Chinese Boxer, which I think got released in October, and then Disciples of Shaolin is getting released next week. And then there's a bunch of stuff coming in January and February, and I think into March they already got stuff coming up.
Yeah.
So that's coming in the mail. Of course, many people we talked about last week are getting the Shaw Brothers set that's coming out later this month. A lot of people have probably pre-ordered that, and if you haven't pre-ordered that yet, you still can. Keep an eye out. Maybe some places will get it earlier than the December 28th date. You never know. But just keep checking your orders out there, people. It's coming.
It looks beautiful. I was talking
yes.
to him. I was talking to Andrew about this a couple of days ago. That I'm noticing the material on it. It's like this, textured, meshy kind of. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's very textured. I didn't know it was going to be so textured. The outer box. So I really like that.
I like the size of it.
And the size.
I really like the color.
Reminds me of
the blue really pops.
Yeah.
In all the pictures I've seen.
Yeah.
The blue really, really pops.
But
Steven, do you have anything coming in the mail? The Shaw Brothers set.
Well, that Shaw Brothers set hasn't even shipped out yet.
Well, I mean, it's tentatively coming.
It's
going to
be coming, but the things that are okay. I'll start from what's coming. What's coming first? What's coming first to what's on its way the latest. I should tomorrow, and this is a Sunday, but on Monday, I should get my Mae West set from Indicator.
Oh, nice.
Which I'm excited to grab that because
I've seen people post it and it's
gorgeous. Yeah, it's beautiful. So that should be here tomorrow. Maybe, and this depends on FedEx because how great FedEx is. But I should have all my stuff from Vinegar Syndrome showing up that I got from the sale. Flesh for Frankenstein. Also Steel and Lace. And then I also picked up Rancho Deluxe from Fun City Editions and The Cellar, which is a horror film that Justin Beam had suggested to get when we had him on. So I decided to go ahead and pick that up. And then lastly, and it just got shipped out, I think, yesterday, is the All Haunts Us All or something. I can't remember the title. It messes with my mind. But the folk horror set from Severin should be getting to me probably by the end of the week. It'd be a nice Christmas present. I'm seeing some unboxings of this, and it looks amazing. It has like a nice gold, tree on the front, and I can't wait to get it.
And the box set is called All the Haunts Be Ours.
All the Haunts Be Ours.
A compendium of folk horror.
For some reason, that sentence just doesn't work with my mind.
It doesn't sound
like proper English.
It doesn't sound proper. It doesn't sound like those words should be in that order.
Yeah, but it looks amazing. I've seen some of the films. I know you saw a lot of the films in this set. Preparing.
Oh yes, I did.
Preparing for the episode we did when we talked about it way back in the summertime.
Yeah. So the quality. I mean, when we had Andrew Furtado back on in July,
it was a little later than that. It was.
Yeah, it was a little.
I think it was like August. Yeah.
We were talking about that set because it had just been announced, and he was just like, "Yeah, it's gonna look amazing. It's gonna look fantastic."
That 3-hour documentary is. I can't wait to watch that because I hear it's just amazing. That's what I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna run through it from beginning to. I'm not gonna go out of order. I'm just gonna watch the curated.
So, because it is curated.
Yeah, it's curated. I'm gonna watch curated order. So, that's gonna be. I'm about to get a tooth pulled. It probably won't be here. I'm gonna have to watch something else. I'll say maybe I'll go through Mae West, but I'm gonna have a tooth pulled tomorrow, so I might be out a couple days. So who knows? I'll probably go right back to work. But
you may be hopped up on pain pills and
it might be the best time to watch
know where you are.
folk horror movies.
Yeah.
I'll be high on pain pills, but
so you're not gonna know where you are.
Yeah.
Like him.
But I'm excited about the stuff coming in the mail. I probably have other things coming. I know I got other things pre-ordered. Like I got the Armor of God Jackie Chan film, the first.
Oh yes,
But mine hasn't shipped out yet, but it should be coming soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my Vinegar Syndrome stuff hasn't shipped out yet either. They, people who are listening who have bought from Vinegar Syndrome before from their sales know that it takes them, a while to go through all of the sales and process everything and all that kind of stuff. I think didn't we go over what we ordered? I don't remember. But
I think we did. I just did it again.
You just did it again. So I've got stuff coming from them, but that's I don't anticipate seeing that until
probably beginning of January.
Yeah,
sometime maybe
mid-January for all I know.
But
so it's this time of year is always kind of crunch time because you kind of want to get in, some of the best releases of the year that you maybe missed out on, or if you want to buy yourself some gifts or buy
myself
significant others some
gifts all year. What are you talking about?
I know, seriously. But if you want to buy yourself more gifts, if you want to have an excuse, the holidays are the best time to have an excuse. Holidays and birthdays.
Yeah, I always
the best time.
I take this time to buy some stuff for other people. So,
you're selfless.
Not really. But speaking of the year 2021, the first episode we do in 2022 with our friend Dan Skip Allen. That's the first guest I'll announce. Dan Skip Allen, a friend of ours, he's a film critic. He's going to come on and talk with us, and we are going to talk about our favorite pickups from 2021. So not only boutique wise, but our friend Dan, who does buy some boutiques, but he does, I think, mostly buy a lot more of the mainstream stuff. So we'll get a wide spread of releases on that episode. He's going to talk probably more mainstreamy stuff, and we'll probably be talking a lot of boutiques. At least, I know I will. So, but we'll be doing that on our first episode of 2022. So that'll be fun. So maybe I'll make a post in the Facebook group, and maybe some people can share some of their favorite pickups from last year, or from right now 2021. So
yes,
we can do that maybe for the episode also. So, but all right. Well, I guess we made that last about another 7 minutes.
rambling. Yes, we did.
So now we're over an hour officially. But
I was born a rambling man.
Yeah. I was about to say rambling band, but all right. Well, where can we find you, Andrew?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can find me on all the other Chasing Labels stuff, whether it be the Twitter at Chasing Labels, Letterboxd, where you can see what I'm watching, and Instagram, where you can see what I'm buying. You can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the major players. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.